So let's start very personal. So who worked for a very exceptional boss over the last years of your career? Can I have a show of hands? Wie oft kommen eigentlich die guten Leader durch? Und was ist die Rolle eigentlich von uns, wir HR-Professionals? Darüber möchte ich gerne mal ein bisschen reden. Allererst ist es ganz wichtig, spezifisch zu sein, was wir suchen in Leader. Und ich sage immer, Values sind important. Die Werte, die Leute haben, sind unglaublich important. Und mach es einfach. Keep it simple, stupid. So die Werte, die ich immer gesucht habe in meiner Zeit für internationale Unternehmen, sind Care. Weil ohne Care für andere Leute, Care für das Unternehmen, Care für die Planete, was auch immer, Care ist unglaublich wichtig. Und nicht Care, die fake ist, aber wirklich Care. Und Care bedeutet auch, denn wenn einer in einem falschen Job ist oder nicht funktioniert, dass man die Leute darauf anspricht. Und weiter noch im HR auch Mut hat, Courage, da einzugreifen, wenn einfach der falsche Leader auf einem falschen Sitz sitzt. Und Courage ist nicht, dass man keine Angst hat. Das würde reckless sein. Courage ist unsicher sein und trotzdem das Richtige machen. Und gerade mit Leadership und Talent sehe ich noch so viele Unternehmen, die haben einfach Assholes in Unternehmen. Und aus HR-Sicht kann das nicht sein. Da muss man eingreifen. Erstmal eine Warnung, zweimal eine Warnung, dritte Mal raus damit. Auch wenn die Leute richtig Geld verdienen fürs Unternehmen. So, Values sind wichtig. Die andere Value, die sehr wichtig ist, habe ich gerade schon angesprochen, ist Courage. Und ja, das ist nicht keine Angst haben, aber trotzdem das Richtige machen. Und die dritte Fähigkeit, die manchmal übersehen wird für alle Leader, ist Collaboration. Und Collaboration ist Brücke bauen mit Leuten, die anders sind, als wir sind. Und das hört sich ganz einfach an, aber das ist es nicht. Wenn ich hier rumspaziere in Pause, kommen die Leute zusammen als gleiches Sprachgebiet, als gleichen Unternehmen. Es gibt immer Ausnahmen, aber die meisten Leute, die reden gern mit Leuten, die ähnlich denken. Und das hat nichts mit Collaboration zu tun. Sehr viele sehr erfolgreiche Unternehmen sind erfolgreich geworden, weil es Leute gibt, die Brücken bauen. Abteilungen miteinander verschmeiden, Marketing mit IT, Artificial Intelligence with Big Data. Und damit kriegt man neue Lösungen und mit neuen Lösungen kann man den Wettbewerb stärker machen. Das Zweite, was offen falsch geht in Großunternehmen mit Talent, ist, wir sind nicht präzise. So, wir sagen, das ist eine gute Dame oder ein guter Kerl. Who gives a shit? Man muss ja präzise sein. Man muss eigentlich sagen, diese Person bringt eine ganze Menge Fachkompetenz, aber hat auch Mut, countervailing power nennen die Engländer das, the power to actually withstand. So when you have a strong CEO, somebody has to say to that same CEO, very nice idea, but we're not going to do it. That's called countervailing power. And that capability you can actually sense with people. And it's not so important whether that person is the chief HR officer or the chief finance officer. Somebody in the team needs the courage to say to the leader, specifically if it's a powerful leader, this is a good suggestion, but it is the wrong way to tackle the problem. So that's what you want to look for early on in people's careers. And that's why you want to give them a potential assessment. And what I mean with that is that you look at people's profile already when you recruit them and look at a few things. First, capacity. The world is complicated and it's getting more complicated. So people need to be able to analyze a complex problem and come with very clear and preferably simple solution. That's called capacity, Kapazität. Wenn man das nicht hat, wird man sehr schnell den Streit verlieren. Capacity. You can be very smart though and very lazy. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're very smart and very lazy, you're probably not very helpful for an enterprise. So what you want to look for is people who have drive, achievement, motivation. People who, when there's a purpose of your company, let's say, make a better world, make better products, make better services, that they get excited about. They jump out of bed in the morning. So capacity, complex issues, make it simple. Secondly, achievement, drive, motivation. And the third is the power to build relationship. Because if you build relationship, and the former speaker Paul talked about humor, that's one of the human emotion you can use for that. You can actually effectively command a large group of people. Because if you only have yourself and you have a lot of drive and passion, you will never get into a real senior job. There are different ways to describe the same thing, but I always believe that CAR, that's the summary, so capacity, achievement, drive, motivation, and relationship, is a pretty good start point when you define people's capability. The second thing you want to do in your organization is start reverse appraisal if you're not already doing that. It's very simple. You take younger people who just come in from school and you assign them to a senior executive. And the whole idea is that they coach, mentor, support the senior executive on things like how to make effective use of networks, how to actually use today's means of communication in a far smarter way, but also to build bridges between generations. A lot of companies are struggling with building those generational bridges. And what is more simple than appoint somebody? My experience, people are really happy to be coached and mentored, senior folks. And young people just joined the company. They love the opportunity to spend some time at the senior executive table and actually give them perspective. The other thing you want to do, if you haven't already done that, is introduce some form of open resourcing. You know what open resourcing is? And it's basically this idea that when a job opens up, ein Vakanz, dass man das veröffentlicht, so jeder kann dann sich bewerben auf ein Vakanz. Ich habe das irgendwo vor 20 Jahren angefangen und da haben sehr viele Leute haben gesagt, Mann, das wird nicht funktionieren, sicherlich nicht mit Senior Jobs, das wird nicht gehen. Ich habe es trotzdem gemacht und es funktioniert noch immer. Es gibt ein paar Vorteile, weil Marketing wirkt auch bei Jobs. So populäre Jobs mit populären Leader kriegen bessere Kandidaten, auch mehr davon, da hat man mehr zu wählen. Schlechte Chefs, schlechte Leaders, und das wissen die meisten Leute in ihren Company, was schlechte Leader sind, die kriegen keine Leute, die kriegen auch kein Talent und nach der Weile werden die selber nicht mehr effektiv sein, weil die einfach gute Leute nicht anziehen und auch nicht behalten können. Es ist mir immer bewusst übrigens, dass es ganz schwierig ist für Dolmetscher, weil ich mache ein bisschen Deutsch oder Englisch, aber ist egal. So, Open Resourcing. Warum das auch wichtig ist, Open Resourcing? Weil das große Problem mit Talent entwickeln und Leadership Development ist, man muss Lücken eröffnen. You have to open slots. And that sounds very simple when I say it, but it's the biggest problem. Because if you have a safe pair of hands in a job, someone who's doing the job sort of okay, that person will not move, that opportunity will not be provided for somebody to actually learn, and you'll miss out in a few years an opportunity to have a strong leadership cadre. And what I mean with rigorous is that for every job you have 2 or 3 candidates, and it's not just a fake exercise to do your KPI, but when a job opens up because somebody gets fired or moves, and you look at that list of 3 names, there's nobody actually available or they're not ready to do the job, etc. The other thing you want to do early on with leadership is in the onboarding, your biggest talent, match them with your best leaders. Sounds obvious, doesn't it? A lot of companies don't do that. Because some leaders are very good professionally at what they do, and some people are very good in the development of talent, in coaching and mentoring and support. My advice is use that capability very consciously when you appoint people to jobs. Now, there are 2 other reasons why talent is hard to get in large enterprises. One actually has to do with diversity. Strong leaders have a tendency to bring people around them who are like them. Ich habe genau das Gleiche gemacht. Wo ich angefangen habe, Leadership-Jobs zu haben, waren all die Leute rumrum, waren Minimis. Minimis. Und das war wirklich, wirklich schlecht. Für mich erstens und auch für die Leute selber. Weil wenn man gleich-minded people, wenn man die um sich versammelt, lernt man überhaupt nichts mehr. Und wenn man nichts lernt, wird man nie ein guter Leader werden. So, das ist wichtig. Das Zweite, was wichtig ist, ist, dass wir Diversity uns anders anschauen. Diversity in Executive Teams, aus meiner Sicht ist das, was HR auch machen muss, ist nicht nur Männer, Frauen, ist kreativ über analytisch, ist Leute, die fokussiert sind auf Montagmorgen, was passieren muss. Man braucht auch Leute, die 5, 10 Jahre vorausschauen. Das sind andere Leute. Und wenn man diese Kombination nicht hat, wird das Unternehmen aus meiner Sicht nie erfolgreich sein und nicht das Ergebnis bringen, was da nötig ist. Bei das alles ist es auch wichtig, dass wir in HR mehr Erfolg haben, mehr Einfluss haben in unsere Jobs. Und da gebe ich einfach 2 simple Tipps. Erstens, wenn es einen CEO gibt in deinem Unternehmen und du arbeitest für einen CEO oder einen Chef, never sit next to the boss. That's for the CFO. Sit opposite. When you sit opposite of the CEO around a table, you can always look that person in the eye and he or she cannot avoid you. It's very simple and very powerful. Believe me, try it. If you've never done it, try it. I've seen a lot of HR people who sit at the border of a table, and a table, unless it's round, but even then, as they know in China, there's hierarchy around table. There's basically a power base, and you have to use that to your advantage. The other thing that is important is when you have power in a team, you get that by asking questions. And I see many people in HR who are so eager to give answers that they lose the opportunity to gain power in a team. So you just had a very difficult conversation in an executive team. You're sitting there as the HR leader. Are you going to give an analysis of what went wrong? No. You ask, do we believe that this conversation just now gave us the results we needed? And then you shut up. And something magic will happen. Because in that room, dynamics will play out, and somebody will start to speak, and you have that entire room in your power. Asking questions is so much more powerful than giving answers. I've been trying to coach leaders on that for many years, and specifically when you get excited about a topic, which is typical, the important topic, we tend to speak too much. So ask questions and think about those questions. They need to be open questions. You don't want to have yes or no. Are there ways we could have delivered the same results in a shorter period of time? What are they? If we have the same conversation next time, what would we do different? And the HR department, in my view, and that's also important from a strategy point of view, is not the department that deals with people issues in your company. They wanted me, so in Shell and ABNAMRO Bank, they wanted me to be the people person. And I've always said, again from a leadership perspective, no, I'm not the people person. We're all here for the people that we employ. I'm the HR person, and I can give advice around people issues and be really clear about what you can do better or different. But don't believe that I'm the only people person, because the CEO and the CFO, and they all need to do those things. Anyhow, the 3 other things I would like to bring to mind to help you when it comes to leadership. First of all, look for growth. Anything that doesn't grow in nature dies. And it's amazing how many companies are not looking at growth the right way. Nobody comes out of bed in the morning for free cash flow from operations. That sort of language is perhaps great if you're a finance professional, but it's not going to work to motivate people. So growth is about your purpose, your product, your service. You want to be exciting to the world. You want to make a difference in the world. So you describe growth and actually do it in words where people can say, what's in it for me? And that's where HR can play a hugely important role. So whenever your company needs growth, wants to go to different countries, look at ways it is relevant and beneficial for individual people. Career opportunities, going to abroad, get a bigger landscape to deal with. The second thing is performance. Nice stories are fantastic, but ultimately you have to deliver results. So for years I've selected country leaders. And if you select country leaders, they need to perform, they need to deliver the results. And being really clear also with your own leader about how good looks like at the end of the year is the best way to advance your career. Ask a very simple question to your leader. How does good look like by the end of the year? It's best to ask that at the beginning of the year, by the way. Whatever appraisal system you have and all kind of other great stuff, how does good look like by the end of the year? And then a lot of leaders, in my experience, don't have an immediate answer, which is telling. Or they come with financials, and you say, yeah, the financials I understand, I can read that. But what about the people? What about what I can do to make you more successful? Try it. It has an amazing impact. Then the third thing is authenticity. And authenticity is not that you go to a course and suddenly bang people on the shoulder and ask them how their weekend was when you're an introverted person. It's not going to work. People will feel within a few seconds whether you're bullshitting. Authenticity is understanding who you are, what you believe in, what you stand for, and from that perspective, be in your role. And collaboration, I already talked about. This is building bridges with people that are different than you. That requires listening. And I'm married to a psychologist for 35 years. So I come home on a Friday afternoon and my wife tells me a story without a name about what happened with one of our clients. And halfway she stops and she says, "You're not listening." And I say, "Yeah, I'm listening." And I repeat what she just said. He said, "Yeah, that's not listening." I said, "What do you mean?" I just repeated what you said. Listening, my friends, is a very active exercise. And if you want to build bridges with people, it's so important that you learn to listen and watch body language, the entirety of a person. And if your boss happens to love dogs, how bad is it that you study on Google the type of dog your boss is into? Be curious, be interested, invest some time. You would do that in marketing and sales. But if you want to build relationship with people, it's amazing how many senior executives I worked with, when you ask them about the people in their team, they can tell you what the job they do, what they're good at or not, but they know very little about their private life. And that's such a missed opportunity. So these themes are themes you can help and coach and guide and mentor leadership on so that they can become better at what they do and you can become better at what you do. So in summary, when we talk about leadership, we very often recognize what goes wrong. And getting it right is actually hard work, but there are a few simple things you can do. First of all, be very careful with who you appoint in jobs. And when you appoint people in jobs, announce it publicly why, what sort of values, capabilities, and skills that person has that you just appointed. Because the whole organization will actually watch and be consistent. Because if you say that a certain attribute is important, we don't want assholes, and you appoint an asshole to a critical job, your credibility as a leader is, of course, down the drain. The second thing is find courage. And I found that really hard when I started my career. I thought if I push back too hard, I will be taken less seriously. And I lived close to the beach. So what I typically had was a very difficult executive meeting. And a topic was raised where I didn't believe it was the right way to deal with it. And the next day, walking on the beach, I knew exactly what I should have said. But I didn't at the moment. When you recognize that life is short, stop that today. Whenever you face a situation where you feel you've got something to contribute, do it in the moment. I talked about capacity, skills, because it's important in a complex world. But the human side of the equation, that's why I dwelt on that, will become double, triple, 10 times as important. Because intellect in itself, language in the broadest sense of the word, humans will very rapidly lose the game. It's not that I'm a pessimist, I'm optimistic, but I've played around with AI, and that's today's generation. Just imagine it 5 or 10 years from now. So understanding human emotions, investing time in building relationships, making sure that collaboration is a standard attribute of the company you work for, so that you can have growth, you can have the performance, you can be authentic yourself, and you can help others to be authentic, and you can actually showcase how collaboration looks like. So that the words that were used in the room just now, the recognition, the capability, the skills, is the environment where you work every day. And if you forget everything of what I just talked about, the most important thing about leadership is if you have good leaders around you, working life is so much more fun. And wouldn't everybody want that? Thank you very much. Danke schön.